Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this live Facebook live panel discussion on retirement. And yes, we are on live right now, all you 57, 67 viewers out there. This is like a live TV talk show, except that we're streaming live on Facebook so we can reach out to all you savvy, diehard internet users out there. And today's topic is start retiring? Question mark, which is a question that we're going to pose to all the four speakers that we have today. So you're going to hear from each and every one of them what their definition of retirement is. Okay, so traditionally the discussions around retirement have always been kind of dry, kind of serious, kind of technical, right? I mean, but in Singapore, we always read about how we should start planning early for retirement. But this is Singapore, right? Yep. Everything is so expensive, right? At the end of every month, it's always money, no enough. So how does one start thinking of retirement? And everyone always associates retirement with like growing old, being in your twilight years, or even getting your CPF, right? Yeah. But actually, in today's terms, retirement is not really about that. Retirement is about, it's not about not working anymore because you're old and weak. I think it's more about focusing on your lifestyle needs and then maintaining that lifestyle even after you've stopped working full time. Right? Right. Yes, so the truth is we can retire at any age as long as we are ready. And today we have a very interesting mix of panelists. With us, we have from the Academia Arena, Singapore Management University, Assistant Professor of Finance Education, Dr. Aurobindo Ghosh.
That's exactly right. Thank you so much, Michelle. Hi.
Welcome, welcome. And to his left, of course, is a representative from the entertainment industry, MediaCorp actress Rebecca Lim.
Hello.
Hello, hi. Very familiar face, of course. And to my left is someone who's going to give us professional financial advice today. Correct? MoneySmart.sg editor Mark Cheng. Hi, welcome. And rounding off the panel is our youngest panelist today, an executive from the aviation industry, Felicia Khoo. You're only 24 years old.
Yep.
You're perfect to kickstart today's discussion. Because I want to ask you, and I really want to ask you, for somebody your age, do you think about retirement at all?
I guess retirement for somebody my age, it's actually a topic which is really far off, probably like 40 years down the road. And currently, I don't really have much thoughts about what I'll be doing when I retire. But personally, I hope that retirement will be something that I'll be enjoying, doing something that I enjoy, and actually not having to stress out about having to worry about my daily expenses and how am I going to survive. Yeah.
But you've just only started working not too long ago. So does the idea of not working altogether forever scare you? I mean, you're like first job, second job.
Yeah. Actually, I guess everybody will hope that money will just come in without working, right? In some sense. Not working. Actually, perhaps finding a job that you are interested in doing and
that you love doing, right?
Yeah,
so you feel like you can go on doing it forever.
Yes,
I mean,
correct.
even if you're retired.
That's true. Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go on next to Rebecca because I think she's next in age lah, next youngest in age. I assume.
Number two. Yes.
Number two. Yes.
Sorry, Prof.
Hey, but actually you're same age as Mark.
No. He's 2 years my senior.
Oh, yeah.
Because we were in the same batch.
Well, he looks it. Okay, so just kidding.
He looks wiser. Okay.
So I want to ask you, what do you really think about retirement?
Well, I think that retirement is an end. It's very old thinking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's very old thinking. Yes. To me, retirement is more like a journey. So it's all about making important decisions at different milestones or different stages of your life for your future, so that when you eventually do stop working, you don't have to worry about your future. And everything is set, you have a more peaceful mind. And with that, everything just looks nicer. You can enjoy your lifestyle. The latte would taste sweeter. The holidays will seem, more enjoyable. Everything.
If you don't have to worry about.
Yes, exactly. So
some
I mean, to
problems.
me, retirement really is a journey more than an end.
Okay, but I mean, what about yourself personally? I mean, we all know that you love acting, and acting is you do, right?
I do. Yes, I
You
do.
say that in the interviews, I assume it's true. You're very passionate about acting. So do you think you will act till, you know, you're very old or forever?
Well, I think I'm very blessed because I love acting and to be able to call.
Yeah, because you know your
Yeah.
Instagram profile, right? It
Yeah.
says too blessed to be stressed.
Yes,
so-
exactly.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Yeah. So, you know, to be able to call my passion my job, you know, not that, you know, I don't enjoy finance, you know, he was my prof in school, you know. So,
So you studied
Yeah.
finance.
I did.
Oh, okay,
I did.
okay.
Yeah. So he was my
Cool.
prof.
Wow.
Yeah, to be able to have a passion as a job, I think it's a huge blessing, and I want to do it for as long as I can, or as long as, you know, people want to see me on screen. You know, but of course, I hope to try different things all the time, learn different skill sets along the way as well.
Okay, so right now I'm gonna go on to your professor
Wow. Okay, thank you.
from SMU, right?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Prof, gosh,
Yes, that's right.
what is your definition of retirement? And do you think you're gonna teach until ripe old age?
Well, actually, the voice is needed. If it goes, then you have to do something else. So, but if you
Oh, you mean your
do-
own voice? You have to take care of your
of course,
health,
yeah,
of course.
Because those are the things that you have to be concerned about
Yeah,
at some
yeah.
point. But at the end of the day, if you enjoy what you do, you don't think about retirement as much. But what you think about that, when can you get financial freedom so that you can do what you like, not forced to do what you like. And that is quite important because at the end of the day, we all enjoy doing. If you're passionate about something, you will be an expert in that particular field. But if you're forced to do even the thing that you're passionate about, you might not enjoy it as much.
True, true. And I believe, Mark, you have a very interesting analogy, or two analogies, about retirement. Yeah.
Well,
Make it short and sweet.
sure. Let's talk about the best case scenario first.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think that retiring is, or planning for retiring is really like building a home. Nobody just takes an entire completed home and plonks it on a plot of land, right? We're surrounded by construction sites, and everyone knows that things get built brick by brick in order to make sure that you have a stable home. And eventually when you want to live in that home, that's really when you're retiring and you enjoy the comforts of the home. On the flip side, if you don't plan for retiring, it's really like going into an exam completely unprepared, right? I think Singaporeans are well familiar with taking exams and the fear of going into an exam unprepared. So I think that those two scenarios where you build things progressively and start early is really important.
So, at what age do you see yourself retiring at?
Well, I think it would be nice to retire at 60, but then, you know, like Prof. Gosh said, I don't really see it as a particular point in time because I just see a transition between working for myself versus being able to give back the experiences that I've gained.
Yeah, so it seems like all of us don't really want to go into retirement altogether, like stop working altogether, because we all. So, well, I don't know about you. It's like your second job, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, all of us seem to love what we're doing.
Yep.
So we're not going to stop working altogether. So why are people so afraid of planning for retirement? I mean, there seems to be this fear, especially amongst young people. Why do you think so? Felicia, what are your own fears actually
I guess,
when it comes to retirement planning?
yeah. Currently, because we just started, people around my age just started working, so probably the things that we are worried about is not having sufficient funds to actually cope with our daily expenses. At the same time, how are we going to save if we are not enough? We can't even earn enough to survive. Yeah, it's such
But what is your current lifestyle like? Like, do you drive a car? Do you? You drive a car?
I do have a license. I don't own a car. Yeah, I have a license.
No, you
Yeah.
drive it. You have your own car at 24?
No, I don't have my own car.
Oh, this aviation industry is
No. Yeah. So basically, most of my expenses go to like eating out with my friends, hanging out with them, doing certain activities, and yeah, cafe hopping, or maybe like go to some nature reserve, go Coney Island.
Coney Island?
Yeah, all this.
Do you mean Coney Island in New York?
No, Singapore.
I was like, that's going to cost a lot. That's like your expenses. Yeah, so that's quite a lot. I mean, if you want to talk about that kind of a nice lifestyle,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
Okay. So, Dr. Gosh, you work a lot with young people.
Right, of course.
So,
yeah.
do you think like young people today, I mean, do they really think about planning for retirement, or they're too busy, you know, YOLOing?
Well, let me give you a secret. I think even if you ask academics, they don't like to think about retirement at all. In fact, you know, the people you think should be prepared because they're teaching it for a living, they are not prepared because they don't want to think about just stopping work at some point. So it's the change of lifestyle is probably a better thing to think about. What are the things that you need to do? What do you enjoy doing? And you can focus on them, then you think of the transition. And that is the critical part. And Mark actually mentioned about this. So the transition is quite critical. If you think about it, that you can do what you enjoy doing without being forced to do that.
Right. But you know, I have some statistics here. Because NTUC Income has done this study, you know, on Singaporeans, and it says 55% of young Singaporeans aged 25 to 35 years old have started planning for retirement. Isn't that great
Fantastic.
news?
Fantastic.
But
Something
that's
that
only
we are teaching
55
is
lah.
right
That's
there.
only half. Teachers are doing a good job.
Yeah, of course.
But 84, okay, so 84% of young Singaporeans aged 25 to 35 years old are concerned about financial preparation, but it seems like a lot of them don't know where to get information or the how-to start planning and saving for retirement. So where do we start now, Mark? How do we start?
I think first and foremost, I think it really starts with understanding your own lifestyle. When we write about retiring, it's really not so much a big, lofty dream, but we try to break it down into bite-sized pieces. And those bite-sized pieces would form, I guess, as a whole, your own lifestyle. How much are you spending? How much are you saving? How much are you investing? Are you well covered for, I suppose, when you grow older later in life and you have things like health bills to pay?
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a
there's
reality
so many
of
things
life,
to think
right?
about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that being able to understand your own lifestyle expenditure at a young age. I mean, you know, when you start working and you just start,
Felicia, are you listening?
Yes.
Taking notes.
Yeah.
when you just start working and you get your first couple of months of salary, I mean, even for myself, you know, you just go nuts. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, right, I can go
Yeah,
shopping,
yeah.
right? And the people tend to put off thinking about that because it's not nice to force yourself to save, right? Everyone wants to just go and eat some, you know, cafe hop. I like to do that too. People like to shop. People like to travel.
Yeah.
Saving's boring, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
But,
And a lot of young people, once they get their first credit card,
Oh,
they go
yeah.
crazy.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
so I think that having a good perspective and the right information about what you need to do and how you can start early would actually make the pain of preparing for retirement at a much later age a lot less.
So that means go to your website, is it?
Uh,
Moneysmart.sg.
Well,
information.
yes.
Later you can talk about my movie. Yes,
Yes,
tell us.
yes,
where
but
to get the information? And at what age should young people start? 24 is a good age, or as you're saying, as soon as you start working?
Yes, I do think that when you start working and when you start to have more disposable income, it is important to understand what you can do and what you should do with that money, as opposed to after a couple of months of living paycheck to paycheck, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I need to do something about that. Personally, I was at a point where I decided, okay, look, I need to get my act together. And I think the biggest barrier to all of this is a lot of people have the misconception that, you know, I need to find $10,000 under my pillow before I can start investing that money or start planning for that. And it really doesn't, or it shouldn't be that way, because I think starting small is really what helps people to get into that habit of planning.
Yeah, every
a-
little bit counts. And
Exactly.
it becomes a habit, right?
Absolutely.
Just to interrupt, sorry, for a short while, because we have a question from Facebook. I believe this person is a student, or, you know, she's paying off, he or she is paying off a loan, and he or she says, if I'm paying off a loan and want to continue living my current lifestyle, how and when do I start? So you're saying start small, right? Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I think that when it comes to debt, especially, debt is really one of those things, and I think, Michelle, you brought up the point about credit cards as well. I think it's really one of those things that can really cripple your chances of really planning for retirement well. Personally, I think that paying off the loan should be of priority first, but and I think at the same time, once again, like I said before, factoring that loan into the rest of your lifestyle and your expenditure obviously means that certain compromises need to be made. I'm not exactly sure what your current lifestyle is, but I think that there are certain adjustments that can be made. But of course, like I said, priority is paying off
Paying off the loan because
first.
interest, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Prof. Gosh, anything to add to that?
I think that's great advice. In fact, you should be very, very careful, particularly given that you're planning on retiring at a point. So suppose you want to buy that purse that you always wanted, and you are thinking about it as cost now. But think about it, how much will it be when it's time for you to retire? And that is a very important point, because we see that about
And what is
3%.
the purse worth
Yes.
when you're going to retire, right?
Right, exactly, because that is what you're giving up at that particular point
Yeah.
when you're buying the purse today.
Yeah.
You know, if you really, really wanted it and you kind of saved up for it, you know, don't really completely, you know, deny that particular urge, but be aware of it. So that's the thing. So you have to plan ahead, and starting early is always the best thing to do, because the time it takes for you to gather that nest egg, the longer it is, the more likely you're going to get there. That's very, very important.
Talking about nest eggs.
Sure.
Anyhow, segue. I want to ask Rebecca, because I've heard that you've started building a nest egg of your own already, and that's why you got involved in this campaign to begin with, because you yourself, you bought an NTUC income policy out of your own accord. That's why the NTUC income people approached you to be involved in this campaign. So tell us more about that.
Well, I think like many people, you know, you get to an age where you really start thinking about your life. And for me, it was because, you know, my good friends around me started settling down, started having kids, you know, started having houses of their own. And even my younger sister is getting married. So that was, yes. So that was what started to get me thinking. I sat down and I decided I have to do something about my life. I have to start planning. I'm not so much of a planner, but I have to sit down and start planning. And that was how I engaged a financial advisor, and then she sat down with me for a good like 2-3 hours and asked me a lot of questions, very simple questions, but very difficult for me to answer. You know, like how much do you want to have? What kind of lifestyle do you have? All these questions that you really have to be honest with yourself. You know, it's not easy to
Very hard
answer.
question.
You know, but
And it makes you think about
Yes.
things, right?
Absolutely.
That you usually won't think
it's
about.
very necessary and very useful questions that you need to know to plan for your lifestyle. And I really benefited from the entire experience.
Right.
You know, buying a plan has given me like more security for my future, and I just really, you know, hope that I can share this with as many people as possible, because it is so important to start as early as you can.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's never too late.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
The
but
best time to start is yesterday.
is that one of your modules? You know, as Rebecca is talking about lifestyle, I'm sure a lot of people are interested in what her lifestyle is like. But before we go into that, we have another FB question. As retirement planning is always being referred to as the current value of money, but the retirement calculator always refers to future value of money, which is much higher than what people can typically achieve. How much should we save per month in order to reach that high amount?
Sounds like
Who-
a finance exam.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
like
sure
a
you
good
get these
question
questions
to
all the
ask,
time. Which of the professional ones to start first?
Well, I think we already touched on that, right? Because you are looking at how much you are going to spend in your retirement. Now, just a very simple calculation. Just you want calculations. Let me give you one.
Yeah.
So if it's 3% is the average inflation rate, the change of prices over the year. So if you plan to retire or planning to retire at 25 and you plan at 65 to retire, that's a 40-year period.
Oh,
So
that's great, right? That's,
Yes,
yeah,
that's
a long
great.
time.
So, but think about it. So everything that you are spending today, it's going to cost 3.25 times more in that particular period.
Inflation, is it?
Exactly, it really adds up, which means that if you're planning to get, say, only $1,500 a month, and today's prices, you have to save for $4,500 or close to $5,000 at that point. So that's exactly what the main point is, that you have to prepare for the cost that you have to bear when you retire. Not now, but when you plan to retire.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting that you talked about that, because I'm going to read out some statistics again. 6 out of 10 people start saving only at age 45. And starting late is the primary reason for the inability to retire comfortably. And 65% feel that savings will not last through retirement. So I think it's absolutely fantastic that you're starting to save at age 25 because as Prof said, you have 40 years, to save. So that's excellent. I wish I started, I mean, I'm not 40, well, wait. I'm not nearly that old, but I wish I started earlier as
me
well.
too.
Right, Mark, do you have anything to add? You were talking about thinking about, now you're gonna buy a purse, right? And then what is it gonna be,
The purse rings a bell, right?
I think that's what a lot of the female viewers will be interested in, because they want to appreciate. Well, I mean,
Right.
some do, some do. But let's talk a bit about compounded interest, right?
Right.
Yeah. So tell us about that actually.
So, of course, I mean, when you save and start early, your total amount that compounds over time. So you're reinvesting whatever you have invested first over time. Now that is, of course, for a debt or a fixed income investment. When you're looking at stocks, of course, over time, they have much better returns. You cannot predict what will happen tomorrow. We wish I could, but if I did, I'm not going to tell you.
Tell me later.
Yeah, good things must share, Prof.
Of course. But the thing is that, yes, the longer duration you have, you grow it in both ends. So you are actually getting an appreciation, capital appreciation, but you're also getting some dividends out of it.
Yeah.
And that can actually maintain your passive income. So the bigger the so-called nest egg is, the more returns you're going to get from it.
Yeah.
And that is where your comfort level will grow up.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I need. If you delay it, now there is one professor who actually mentioned, he comes here quite regularly, he actually won a Nobel Prize in economics as well, about risk being how long you have till the point you want to retire. The longer that is, the less risky that particular target is. But if it's very short, then the risk is much higher because
Right.
you might end up getting a much lower amount
Yes.
because you will be taking more risk to attain what your target goal is.
Yeah, but I mean that's for stocks and shares. But
Right.
let's say we were to get policies, is pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, policies also, I mean, you have to look at if you look at them, there are different ways of getting passive income, and one of them would be to, say, invest in annuities, for example. So annuities are also things where you invest now and you're getting a return at a later time. But compounding, what you mentioned before, is quite important because when you reinvest, you started with $100. The next year, it's about $110 that you are investing. So you automatically have a bigger and bigger amount that you can calculate the returns on.
Yeah. Okay, so we have another Facebook question. How much of my paycheck should I save per month? Mark. Okay. Let me start with Felicia.
Yep, sure.
How much of your
How
paycheck do you How many percent?
Currently, after CPF, I'll try to save about 25 to 30%. Yeah, I'm not too sure whether that amount is sufficient, but it's just a gauge that I give myself. Yeah.
Okay, so is 25 to 30% a good amount to start saving, Mark?
Honestly, I think it's quite a decent amount.
It's quite an achievement for a 24-year-old.
I think so too. I think so too. I think in terms of savings, I think there also needs to be a perspective on what you use those savings for. There is a certain portion of the savings that needs to work as a sort of emergency fund. I mean, if something bad happens, I don't know, your toilet explodes or whatever.
Well, that's not going to require a lot of money if your toilet explodes. Just get the plumber, unless you drown in the toilet.
Unless you have a really huge toilet.
Yep. But I think that that savings portion also needs to be split into savings and growing your money as well. I think
Right.
the premise that we have been talking about here is actively growing your money and a portion of that. So I think that when you allocate the portion of your paycheck to save, I think a decent amount would be 10% for that emergency fund and another 25% towards saving for either medium-term goals like, I don't know, buying a car, buying a house, and investing that portion. And of course, as your career progresses and maybe say you earn more money, that can sort of be readjusted as well. I think the other thing that's important to note is that it's important to also allocate how much you spend
Yeah.
and spend it.
Oh, you mean to actually spend the amount that you plan to spend?
Yes,
Why?
because I think it's a discipline as well. We talked about creating habits, right? And
Felicia is like,
Yeah,
sure
that
not.
is strange.
No,
Just save whatever you can.
And so that's the tricky bit, right? Finding that balance point where you spend what you choose to spend and you save what you choose to save. I think that this obviously takes some adjustment over time, but if you don't I suppose, fix an amount that you want to spend, there's a high chance that you're going to shoot past that.
Overspend?
Yes, there's a high chance that you're going to shoot past that number.
But you know, some people don't really. You look like someone who doesn't spend very much. You look like a simple girl.
Yeah, actually, for
And because you also get a lot of free gifts. Sponsored items.
most of my salary, you know, I try to save about, like Felicia, about 20 to 30%. It depends on, you know, how much I need in that month as well. You know, sometimes I
And how
use
much
it for
you made in that
emergency.
month.
Yes,
Because you know,
as
for
well.
artists, sometimes
Yep.
that month you can make a lot. So I think for that month, it's not just saving 30%, right? Like saving 90%. So, this is a lot of money.
Yeah. On an average, about 20 to 30%. Okay. Yeah. So the rest of the money, I use it for, you know, some allowance for my parents every month, household expenses, and also I save up quite a bit. I used quite a bit of my initial savings to pay up for my university student loan.
Oh yeah, so you know, you can relate to that question
Yeah,
earlier.
so I paid for my university fees, and so a bulk of that was used to pay for my university
Right.
school fees, and also I'm saving up for a house, you know, because that's my short-term goal. My
So you're still
medium-
staying with your parents?
Yeah, I'm still staying with my parents.
That's
I'm
why I say
still,
you're down to earth.
I'm still sharing the same bed with my sister for the past 29 years. So I mean, it's my
Luckily,
personal
you're
goal.
so skinny.
We have a relatively comfortable bed.
King size. Anyway.
Yes, anyway. So, you know, I just really hope to, that's my goal. And I think the important thing is to not compare, you know,
Right.
because with social media, it's very easy to compare, you know, what you have, what your peers have, what you should and what you want are two totally different things. And you need to know, you know, to spend within your means. I think that's very important. That's what I live by.
It's interesting that you talk about your peers. Because you know you're in this industry where I'm sure none of your peers are in. Yes. So do you really never compare yourself with them when it comes to, you know, money? Sure compare lah, I mean.
I mean, we do talk about
Schoolmates.
it. Yeah, we do talk about it, but we don't talk in detail.
Right.
You know, most of us just, we share with each other, you know, if we have good things, you know, like which investment plan to buy, or, you know, if we have...
Yeah.
you
Because
know,
you're
some-
from finance as
yeah,
well.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or if we have savings plan that, you know, we feel would benefit each other, we would definitely share with each other as well.
Right. Okay. So anyway, we have another Facebook question, and this one is very interesting, and I often think about this as well. This person says you should not plan now. You should make money now, because making money, you can get more money than if you save. So you should concentrate on making money. So what do the panelists think about this?
Can I take that? Yeah, I think, well, someone says that if you don't, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So, you know, even if you're earning money, you don't really know how the industry will move, because a lot of jobs are actually changing. So you have to be a little careful that you are not planning, you are putting your whole heart into the discipline and particular field you're in, and you are not really looking around you as much. And
That's
that
why you
is-
should go for a life skills upgrade.
Oh, yeah,
So you have
absolutely.
different skills.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, if you have that option, that's great. But I mean, earning money and planning are not mutually exclusive.
Yep,
Yeah, you can actually plan and earn money at the same time. So you know your goals and targets, and who doesn't want to do what they like?
Yeah.
So the earlier you plan, the earlier you can do what you like to do. You know, travel, cook, whatever comes to your mind. You know, something that you can do.
I echo those sentiments. In fact, if anything, I feel like the planning actually probably leads you to making money, in the sense that you realize, okay, perhaps at a younger age when I don't have as many liabilities, I mean, I'm not married, I don't have kids, that's when you can really start to put your money to work and get it to grow. And then, you know, you adjust down when you start to take on more liabilities in life. So I don't think that it's necessarily a case of, okay, I plan, so I just, you know, borrow all my money and, you know, wait for winter to come. But it's really about planning out, like Rebecca said, the different stages, and then deciding when can you take more risks, when do you need to sort of buckle down and sort of deal with the responsibilities that you have later on in life.
Yeah, Felicia, I'm sure all this is very useful to you, right? It's all very new. It's even new to me, like about all these different stages and what you have to do. So what about your friends? Have they also started thinking about retirement? Do you all talk about it at all?
Actually, I did when I started working there, I did go and find out about this kind of stuff. So I did ask my friends like, oh, do you know any of these insurance plans or any savings plans that I can get and all this? So some of them have actually started thinking about it, but they have not actually started buying all these plans yet and doing all these savings. I think the main reason was because they think that they do not have sufficient funds right now. So they prefer not to actually start saving. They just want to grow their income first and like.
So that's like that question earlier,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's true.
but every little bit, you should
Yes.
always start early, as
Yeah,
they've all
correct.
said.
And like what Mark said, I agree. Is because like we are young and we don't have much obligations right now. So actually, it's a very good time to start.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you have
Wow,
actually
you're
more
very
cash.
sensible
Thank
for
you.
your age. Yeah.
So I guess another reason why my peers are actually not doing all this planning right now is because the lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Because whenever I ask my friends, oh, so have you started saving? So they will be like, no. Why do I need to think about it? And I don't really know anything about this. So why do I actually? What do I need to do?
I hope you asked them to tune in today.
Yeah. So actually, some of them really did come and ask me like, oh, so what have I been doing? Because they know that I do have a savings plan. Yes.
Great, excellent. You're such a role model for your friends. Okay, this next question, I'm not sure if any of you will be able to answer this, but let's try. What are the options from NTUC for low-income earners who have this little disposable income? Maybe just talk about like type of plans that if you guys know about.
I think maybe I'd like to answer this not so much from an NTUC point of view, but I think in general, one of the common recurring comments that we get on our blog with regards to insurance
Right.
is that, oh, it's very expensive. And then that leads to a conversation about buying different policies, right? And what we always preach is that fundamentally you need to make sure that you're covered before thinking about, oh, am I going to get money back? How much money am I going to make? At the end of the day, the basic fundamental.
When you
that
say
needs-
covered, meaning
Meaning that you need to have a plan in place that is going to cover the variable costs that come in at a later stage. So, like I used the analogy about
The
building a
toilet.
house. Yeah,
Oh,
building a house. Yeah, the toilet exploding would be the variable cost there, right? You
exactly.
don't expect it to happen, and it
Exactly.
happens like, whoa,
so you
my
make sure
toilet
you're
exploded.
covered for these things.
Yeah, exactly, right? And these things don't have to cost you a lot,
Right.
It's just that because people have that misconception that, oh, I need to get some money back from my policy, they
Yeah.
end up looking at things that skip the basic
Yeah,
steps.
yeah.
And I think that is a perspective that needs to change. So I mean, this is obviously independent of any sort of insurer. It's really just a mindset that first and foremost, you need to make sure that you're covered for your later years, and you're not overpaying, right? I mean, if I were to ask you, would you rather pay $100,000 for your medical bills or $10,000? I think the answer is pretty obvious right there. And that's an option for everybody, regardless of whether you're rich or you're poor. That is something that people need to have in place first to make sure that when you retire and you want to have the financial freedom, these things also allow you to do that. Not because they're giving you more money, but because you don't end up spending more money later on in life.
And these plans, these basic plans, the premiums are not that high, right? Because the question
They are-
was if you have very
They-
little
they are
disposable
not, they are
income.
Not, they are not. And you can get a plan for as little as $50 or maybe even less to get you covered. But I think what stops people is that they end up looking at the wrong thing, and that ends up becoming, wow, this is so expensive. And they just assume that, okay, that's the benchmark, right, when
Right.
it really isn't.
Right. Okay. If Prof. Gosh, if you
Yes.
don't have anything to add to that, I will go on to the next question, and then
I
you
think
can
they
answer
covered
that
all
one.
bases. Yeah, sure.
How can stay-at-home moms plan for retirement if they don't make any money?
All right, that's a hard question, but
Take
let me tell you,
steal
yes.
from their husband.
Yeah, that's a good plan as well. But think about it. If you budget, then you already know what you're going to spend. You don't have to kind of spend everything that you get, but if you budget and have a discipline that Mark I actually mentioned as well. So the discipline is very important. How much of the money that you are spending now is needed to be spent right now? So you can automatically spend when you have a spending budget. You don't really have to earn money to actually save. You are taking care of the household
Yeah.
items that has to be bought. And if you are regular in buying those things, and because always, like insurance, if you wait too long, your premium is definitely going to be
Yeah.
higher. right? So it's very important to actually plan ahead how much your budget is, so you know that whether you're spending less or whether you are spending more than you plan to. So planning is something that you can always do, okay? And that will definitely be better for the household as well.
Yeah.
Because someone is earning money, I'm sure, and then if no one is planning, then you spend when you have to, and that is usually more rather than when you can.
Yeah, so planning is key, and budgeting. I mean, you've
Absolutely.
all talked about like budgeting and knowing how
Absolutely.
much you spend, how much you save.
Absolutely.
All that is really important, and not just living life like every day, just YOLO.
Absolutely. No, yeah.
Right, Felicia?
Yes, YOLO.
Actually, you don't really represent like your age groups. You're like as wise as we are. So, any suggestions for how to retire by age 40? Which none of us are near.
Yeah.
Well, no, not none of us. Well, I think how to retire at 40. Well, start early is definitely useful, and choosing an industry that and a lifestyle, which is quite important. I think the plan is how you want to spend your retirement. If you spend your retirement on building houses for homeless, then you don't really need a whole lot of money to begin with. You can go and volunteer your time, right? So what do you want? Your objectives that you have when you retire is key. Because if your objectives are traveling, yes, that will be a little more expensive. But if it's backpacking, it's not going to be as expensive. So the same thing that you want to do, you can do it in different ways. So it's very, very important. If you plan to retire at 40, make sure you are disciplined. You spend and plan what you want to spend and exactly how you want to lead your life.
Rebecca, at what age do you think you want to retire? I'm sure you've thought about it, because you know we have to start planning towards that age to retire.
I mean, there's no certain figure. I don't think I would really stop working totally per se. I think I just want to keep on working, and
Your fans are very happy, right?
yeah, you know. So, but I want to have a lifestyle that, like Prof. Gosh said, I want to continue the current lifestyle that I have. You know, most of my
Sharing a bit with your
not that, you know, but you know, enjoying good food, you
Yeah.
know, going for
Traveling.
my facials, traveling,
Hey, your facial's not sponsored.
you know, and because now I have no time to travel, you know, when I eventually do slow down, you know, in my productions and everything, I do want to travel more,
Right.
you know, so I do want to have sufficient money in my later years
Right.
to do more things that I want, you know, to enjoy my lifestyle and have that amount secured for me to continue to do so.
Yeah, time is a huge thing actually.
Absolutely.
Because you know now everyone's so busy working. Retirement is not just about not working and taking care of ourselves, but maybe also trying out new things that we didn't try when we were younger, right? So let's talk about it. Does anyone here have a bucket list? Things that you really want to do after you stop working full time?
Wow.
Yeah. Rebecca? Or are you living your dream life already?
Well, I mean, it's something that is totally out of the media industry. You know, I would love to, you know, go somewhere like, you know, quiet, you know, with the people that I love. You know, try to do something positive. You know,
Right.
like maybe, you know,
Charity.
yeah. You know, I think that would be a very fulfilling lifestyle. You know, after you stop working.
Felicia? Bucket list, I'm sure you have 100 things that you want to
Yeah,
do.
actually, there's a lot. I mean, I want to do skydiving. I want to do a lot of stuff, like travel to a lot of places and stuff. But for retirement, probably I actually thought of maybe just retiring in a laid-back country, like
Hey, you guys can
I
hang
don't
out.
know.
Yeah, we can be neighbors.
yeah, okay, sure. That'll be cool. Yeah, and actually just doing things that I like and yeah.
Yeah, I guess it seems like everyone just want a simple
Yeah.
life, like peaceful. Don't have too many worries about your finances, so on and so forth. But you know, I would like to go back to passive income.
Right.
Is it possible for everyone to attain passive income? And maybe we talk a bit more about what is the definition of passive income.
Well, I mean, if you go by what you find in the internet, I mean, passive income is where you are not actively sourcing out whatever the earnings that you have, something that you are, you know, your money is working for you indirectly.
Yeah.
So when you are planning ahead, then you can get, say, dividend income from dividend-bearing stocks, or you can actually get coupon payments from bond that you have bought, or you might actually buy into REITs, which are real estate investment trusts, which are also passive income. There are ETFs as well, exchange-traded funds, which can give you interest as well. So in a way where you are not working actively, but you are getting a stream of returns that you have planned early for. So that will be one way of defining passive income.
Right, and Mark, we heard that you can actually reveal what your portfolio is like and where your passive income is coming from.
Well, to be honest, I really don't have that much of a portfolio to speak of. But I do invest in ETFs, which is essentially a basket of stocks.
Right.
And the reason why I started out doing that, one, honestly speaking, because I'm a bit lazy, and so I like the idea of passive income because I don't really have to do anything. I'm not the kind of guy who will
Yeah.
wake up in the middle of the night and check stock prices. You know, I can't. So that was one thing that really appealed to me. One, because it was a simple product that I could consistently invest in for a long period of time.
ETFs.
Yes. And specifically the STI. So we wrote a very interesting article about how, you know, if people complain about Singapore getting more expensive,
Yeah.
then why not share in a part of that as well, right? And I think investing in the STI is something that sort of gives you some form of returns.
When
on
did
that
you
as
go
well.
in?
Well,
Since we're on the topic.
I've been doing this for about 2 years now.
Okay.
And I think, like what I shared just now about adjusting how much you save versus that. I mean, this has also been a journey for me in terms of finding my comfort zone. And,
Because actually you're not that old.
I'm not.
Yeah.
But when I listen to her speak, I feel quite old. But anyway,
She's just wise beyond her years.
she is.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think that it's something that I'll continue to do for a while. But yes, I think that adjustment is necessary and important, not just in investing, but also, I suppose, in saving and as well as in your insurance as well.
Right. Okay, so we have another Facebook question. It's challenging to think about retirement when there are so many short-term, medium-term financial obligations. What do you think? I mean, this is sort of like the question before, right? I mean, about the loan. We're just talking about other financial obligations. And also, I want to sort of relate this to this question as well. I'm economically independent, but I need to take care of my family who have health issues. So how do I save? Is that enough for myself in future? So that's also like a financial obligation.
Right, absolutely. I think part of it, of course, is insurance for things that you did not plan from before.
Yep.
That's one part. So that is the part that you have to keep aside. So buying insurance is not always, because you cannot see what insurance really means till the point you need it.
Yes,
Yeah.
So that's something which is not very well understood. You know, we don't buy insurance for things that happen every day. Okay, like toilet explode. That doesn't happen every day. I hope. But the other part, which is quite important, is that you have to plan for your obligations. So there's a rule of thumb, and I don't know how good that is. It's basically your age is actually important. You buy things which are related to stocks, which is 100 minus your age. Okay, that's the amount of exposure you
100
have.
minus your
yeah,
age.
Yeah. So if you are 20, that's about 80% in stocks and rest in bonds or fixed income. If you're 50, you have 50% in stocks and 50% in bond.
Do you subscribe to that theory?
Well, you know, sometimes we don't practice what we preach. But it's just a rule of thumb. Just because when you're young, you can afford to take that risk because you have a very long horizon. But when you get older, you have these obligations that you have to pay up. Say, for example, education for kids is an important obligation that you have to plan ahead because cost of education is going up. So in some sense, you do need to plan for it. So you need that stream of income on how you can meet your obligations. That's the liability part of it. Initially, you're growing the assets, and later you are going to actually address the liabilities as well. So your life cycle actually determines your portfolio as well. So it gradually changes. So what is the best portfolio for you? It depends on you.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's important to maintain those obligations and plan ahead. Insurance is absolutely important for things that you didn't plan for. The only thing you can say for sure, your premium is going to go up with your age.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can say.
No, but I completely empathize with that question because I think it is very challenging to think about something that, you know, like Felicia mentioned, is 40 years away,
Yeah.
and yet have to deal with things that are maybe 5 years away or 10 years away. And like what Prof said, I think there are certain mechanics that you can put in place, things like insurance, things like passive investing, or even understanding how things like CPF can work for you, that will allow you to get what you can get out of the way first and then worry about the other variables later, you know? And I think that that's important in terms of the planning that you do, instead of just I want to reach this number. I need to save this much, and that's it, right? Because that's not it, right?
Yeah, talking about all these different plans, we have another question. What are the advantages of a savings plan versus that of one's own investment portfolio? I mean, one is high risk, right? One of the easiest ways to answer
Yep.
that, right? If you have anything to add on to that, I guess what this person is asking is, should I spend more money on savings
Yeah.
plan or investment plan?
Well, actually, your investment is from your savings. So, but the question
Yeah.
is, are you the best person to judge what is the better investment portfolio? The simple answer to that question for someone who is very busy is probably no, you're not the best person because you would not be
Yeah.
well informed to actually take that. So talking to a financial advisor is a very useful thing. You can make your own decision, but you are sort of what I mentioned, you are the chairman of your investment committee. But someone else is making decisions, you
Yeah.
can veto it.
Yeah.
And
Because
be
only you
informed.
know your own needs, right?
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
your own
But you
lifestyle.
don't have the time to actually explore what are the current news that you need to know. So yeah, that's so delegation is my kind of keyword.
So, this is a very interesting question. Hello, people. Can we truly retire in Singapore? Rebecca, what do you think?
I believe we can. I believe we can, as long as we start early, and we take baby steps. I think all these baby steps will accumulate into something big. And I believe as long as you start early, you plan, you be realistic about your lifestyle that you want to have when you eventually do retire. I think it is really possible, and it's on the other hand, it's never too late to start as well.
Yep.
We always say that you have to start early, but if you haven't started, it's not too late.
Start
Yeah,
right
start
away.
now. Yeah.
So I just would like to ask both of our experts, how much do you think Rebecca will need to retire in Singapore? Or maybe in some village somewhere?
Well, I mean, those two are different answers.
How about Singapore? Yeah.
Well, it's actually quite hard to say. The reason for that, I usually tell my students that I would not allow it depends as an answer. So you have to kind of take a position.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take that trick and say it depends. If you want to maintain your lifestyle, so whatever income adjusted for inflation and so on, you don't actually need 100% of your income into your retirement years because you don't need to save for retirement anymore. Right? So that's why it reduces somewhat, but you probably would need about maybe 75% of your income. So if your passive income can generate 75% of your current income, you're fine.
If 75% of your current income
Yeah. So, but
can
of cour-
generate passive income,
well,
100
no. What I'm saying is that if your passive income, whatever you get as a stream, generates 75% of your current active income, then you can maintain exactly.
75%.
You're in the safe zone, right?
Yeah, you're in the safe
Wow,
zone.
of course you're in a very safe zone.
Yeah.
Right, but
That's like
that is
75%
Yeah.
you.
So,
That's like a dream zone, right?
exactly. So,
dream
but that
zone.
is quite difficult, as you can
Yeah.
think of it,
Yeah.
right? So, saving early, having higher savings rate is
Is
probably
that possible?
Well, if your
Passive income being 75% of your current income, of your actual
right,
income.
because if you start early, you have 40 years to save, to which can generate what your
well,
monthly
lucky
income.
you.
Yeah.
So that's,
Been there,
but
I
of
guess.
course, it's quite hard because you are adjusting for inflation, as we just talked about.
Yeah.
That that's actually three times almost
Right.
of what you have to spend. So yes, it is hard, but you have to make adjustments to your lifestyle. To some extent, you can maintain things that you like to do, but you are not going to do things that was extravagant for you earlier. That after retirement you start doing those things. So you have to.
We
be,
all have to be realistic.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But I'm sure one can actually retire in Singapore. Of course, I have friends who've retired.
yeah, yeah.
And they're not driving Ferraris or living in big bungalows, right? Mal? Do you want to answer that question? Do you think it's possible to retire in Singapore? Truly retire. Truly retire.
I think that question always has an underlying implication of cost to it. People ask that question to sometimes because they feel you're always either paying more money for things or you can never work enough to make enough money. But I think there is a certain aspect of what we call lifestyle inflation as well, which happens over time. Naturally, it's pretty hard not to spend money in Singapore. But I think also people over time get used to a certain lifestyle, and that slowly inflates over time naturally. And I think that managing that as you move towards retirement is very important, which is exactly what Prof said, right? You know, you're not suddenly going to go crazy and like, wow, I'm going to spend all this cash and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
do all these crazy things that I didn't used to do before, because there are other concerns there. I mean, it's just general good common sense and planning, right? And you can factor for certain things that you want to, like you mentioned, the bucket list. But I think that when you think about retiring, it's really not about that sudden transition into like, whoa, let's make it rain with cash. But I think really about transitioning into a different phase
Yeah.
of life.
Yeah, retirement is really just about entering another phase of your life, actually, and we should all look forward to it, but only if we start planning early, if we're prepared for it.
Absolutely.
So there's this very real question here. If I'm 28 and I haven't started planning anything, I haven't started planning for anything, what would be the advice to me? Oh no!
Well, I was 28 and I didn't plan anything, you know. So
And
but
now
I-
you're 29.
Yes. So I started planning last year. And I think the first step is to seek advice from a financial advisor. I think that would be a very wise thing to do. And of course, not spend your entire paycheck on, start saving firstly and consult a financial advisor. I think that was what I did. So hopefully it works for you.
Any other advice
I
from-
actually agree with Rebecca. I mean, I also got to a point where I was like, okay, I need to figure this stuff out. And I think speaking to someone who has knowledge of how you can plan for the future is good. But I also think that understanding what you are getting yourself into and understanding what works for you is equally important as well. I mean, a lot of people don't go into investing their money or insurance for that matter because of the lack of knowledge. And because of that, they feel, okay, maybe I'll lose all my money or I'm going to get cheated when I'm like 60 years old. What's going to happen? So I think knowledge really is key at this point in time. Arming yourself with the knowledge of what you can use your money to do and how you should do that will then prepare you so that when you go and speak to a financial advisor, you're not going there with a completely blank mind and like, okay, just tell me everything, because I think that is not optimal as well. I think understanding what you're going into and understanding yourself will then help that advisor to also give you better advice as well, as opposed to just tell me what I need to do.
Yep.
Felicia, tell us what you learned from this session. But before I ask you that, to round up, one last tip from each of you, including Felicia, from a 24-year-old. Let's start with Professor Goh.
Well, I think the important part is retirement is not an end. It's actually a beginning. So it's a beginning of a new lifestyle. We change jobs as well. So we are looking at it. So having financial freedom is quite important. Okay, so we should not be scared of retirement, but embrace it. That's very important, right? How you change your lifestyle to get there. Having realistic targets and expectations that are grounded is very important. So we don't want to go overboard on this. So very, very important to plan ahead, because once you plan ahead, then you know that you can reach your target. So plan.
Great. Yeah, Rebecca.
Exactly, almost exactly what I wanted to say. And in addition to that, I think more importantly, know what you want, know what you're worth. Don't compare. I think that's a very important thing. Don't think that because someone has it, you have to have it.
Right.
You need to know what you need, what you want, and be clear about that.
Okay, and for myself, I will say mine at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think for me, I think reiterating my previous point, I think knowledge is power. I think understanding how you can make your money work for you and how you can best structure it for yourself and for your own lifestyle needs is really liberating. I think it really frees you up to then do a lot more, because you understand that there are certain boundaries that you need to operate within, and then there are certain freedoms that you have at each stage of your life that will give you the opportunity to do what you want, and of course ultimately end up at a point where you are financially free.
Yeah. Wow, so inspiring. It's true, Felicia.
I guess for myself, as I represent the 20s, you might not know how much you actually need when you retire, or what you want to what will you be doing when you retire. But it's always good to just start now. Because for myself, I really think that I also don't know what I want to achieve when I retire. But I just think that it's a it's safer to actually just start right now. Yeah.
You know, the studies, right? They also say that the top 3 things that people do after they retire. Number 1, spending time with friends and family.
Right.
And then second thing, I forgot what the second thing was. Second thing was what? Wait, let me check. Make a guess. What the second thing is?
I'm sure traveling.
Travel.
Travel. Thank you. Oh, it's not in here. It's yeah. What's the third thing? Can anyone remind me what the third thing is? Oh, do something they've never done before.
Okay.
Yes. So I want each of you to tell us what is the one thing that you would do after you retire that you don't have the time or the money to do now, other than spending time with friends and family and what was the second? And traveling. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Once again, I think I was thinking about what I haven't done. I think I'm not finding anything that I wanted to do I haven't done. Traveling, I already do travel a lot. I think investing in startups.
Oh, interesting. How interesting.
So
Yes.
trying to give back, and
Yeah.
both the advice as well as how we can help build something. That's sort of something I haven't done. Need more time. So
Don't wait. Don't wait. Right for the taking now.
Wow, excellent. And Rebecca?
I think acquire a new skill.
Such
never,
as?
never stop learning. Maybe directing. You know? I think never stop learning. I think that's.
Oh, you can do that now too.
One. Yes.
Yes, yes.
And giving back. I think to me that would be a priority.
Wow, you guys. Well done, so noble. Wow, you have to say something different and not about.
So I can't
Contributing
I can't
to
say something
society.
noble. Okay.
Yeah.
I think something that's on my own personal bucket list. I'm a bit of a poker fanatic, so I would love to play in the World Series at least once in my life.
That's interesting.
I don't think I have the time right now, so that's probably something that I might think about doing.
That's
when I
interesting, but
retire.
that's also dangerous,
Why?
isn't it?
No.
Maybe he's really good.
Yeah, maybe he is really good.
Yeah.
After you saved all that money for your retirement and then you go to the poker tournaments. Anyway, Felicia, one thing. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of things that you.
There are actually
wanna
a lot of
try.
things on my mind that I want to try. Maybe like set up a cafe in Singapore and like just retire and grow old.
I'll definitely go to that cafe.
Hey, I also have a restaurant. It's called Mischief. So come by. Yeah.
Which has really good food, by the way.
Oh, yay! Thanks.
It does.
Yes. Okay, now I don't remember what I was gonna say. Okay, so I guess yeah.
your turn.
So yeah, it's my turn. So I guess this session has really been very informative and very useful and very interesting to even somebody like me. And I'm so glad that I got the chance to be here because I've also thought about this. When I left MediaCorp, because hi Georgina, because then I became self-employed, right? So I had really. I really had to start thinking about taking care of myself, and like you guys said, getting covered, right? Because nobody is going to do that for me,
Yep, right.
and I have to give my own CPF and contribute and all that. So really, I have to start thinking about the policies to buy, and also thinking about my dependents who are my parents. Because when you start working for yourself, this is what happens.
Right,
So
right.
this has really been an interesting session for me. But how much time do we have left? One more? 2 minutes? 2 minutes is not a long time, right? So I think we have to round up. So Felicia, please tell us, very short, what did you learn today?
It's okay not to know where you want to be and how much you want to save, but just start saving now.
Yes, because
Yeah.
every little bit counts and you should really
Yes.
start as early as you can.
Yep.
Excellent. And with that, we've come to the end of today's live and lively discussion on Start Retiring. Thank you so much to our panelists
you.
today
Thank you
for
so
your
much.
interesting
Thank you, thank
quips
you.
and
Thanks a lot.
insights. Really, I really do feel very inspired to start taking charge of my own retirement planning, even more now. I mean, I've started also, but I feel like I really need to be on the ball, And really, I mean, retirement is not about, growing old and weak and wrinkly and not working anymore. It's about having the financial freedom to choose what you want to do and maybe even do things that you've never done before, like what we were talking about, right? So I think we've really given the word retirement a bad name, and people have become unnecessarily afraid of it, right? So it's a great session today. So it's not about that, it's about enjoying stuff that we can still enjoy even after we stop working. So on behalf of NTUC Income, we'd like to thank all of you for tuning in today to our Facebook Live stream session on Start Retiring. Lastly, we would like to leave you with this parting thought on retirement. You only have one life. How do you want to live it? Did I not say that? Let me try again. Because, I want to be like, So lastly, we'd like to leave you with a final parting thought on retirement. So why don't we all say this together? Do you remember?
Yes.
Yep.
You only have one life. How do you want to live it? Okay. 1, 2, 3.
You only have one life.
How
do you
want to live it? Yay! Thank you and good night. Okay, now we shake hands. Thank you.